What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the captaincy for 2020. It's become a topic that's going to be so crucial for the 2020 season, which is our 150 years as a football club. And there's a lot of speculation and a lot of opinions about who should be captain for 2020 and also what the current situation with the captaincy is. So I'm going to dive into that today, discuss some of the options and see exactly what you guys want and what we want as a football club as well. So let's get straight into it and discuss the captaincy for 2020.
I think I know just what we need to do.
2019 saw Port Adelaide bring in co-captains for the very first time, shortening the leadership group as it was, with Ollie Wines and Tom Jonas becoming co-captains and Hamish Hartlett being a vice-captain. Now, the season has gone on. There was a lot of anger and a lot of frustration at the football club for basically going away from tradition with the number one Guernsey and going to co-captain for the first time, because the playing group and the coaches felt this was the right way to go, the right path to take in terms of a new beginning and a new leadership regime, especially with the younger group. Now, 2019 saw that the co-captaincy didn't quite work out as well as Port Adelaide would have liked. For me personally, I thought it was always hard to get a bit of consistency with the co-captaincy, especially with Tommy Jonas missing some games, Ollie Wines missed majority of the season, and they couldn't quite be a cohort that they really wanted. And Hamo, especially coming back into the side a little later down the track as well, was kind of a leadership group that could really didn't have a lot of leader about it. It didn't scream, "Come with me, we're going in a direction and we're going in the right direction." Now, that's probably to no fault of Ollie Wines or Tom Jonas or even Hamish Hartlett. They all had injuries and the bodies didn't quite help them for their season. The second half of the season did see a different side, because Ollie Wines and Tom Jonas were playing a lot more. And the games that they did play together throughout the season, it seemed to work pretty well. There was quite a few games that we did actually win with the co-captains in the side. Tom Jonas found some form towards the middle and the later part of the year, and Ollie Wines started to get a bit more aggro about him. And Hamish Hartlett was one that was pretty consistent with his vice-captain role. And I know it's not all about on-field, it's about off-field leadership. And the start of the year with Ollie Wines and his skiing accident, and then, as I said, with injuries, Hamish Hartlett had his knee problem. So it was more of a struggle to see how that one would pan out. And going into 2020, this season is such a massive year for the football club, both on and off the field. On-field performances will obviously be a massive number one priority. Whereas off-field, we've got the celebration 150 years. It's all about the club. It's all about the culture, the traditions, the past, the present, and the future that we will be taking with this. Is such a different direction the club's going in, and for 150 years to be celebrated in a way, we've got prison bar Guernseys and all this celebration to go with every single game. The captaincy is probably one of the more key decisions the club's going to have to make. And a lot of people, especially on the prison bar Guernsey, it's going to be very weird if there's no number one on the back of that Guernsey. And to go into 150 years without a number one, it's quite hard and quite difficult. We know the likes of Boak, Treadray, they all suited that number one role perfectly. And all the way going back through the whole of the 150 years, the number one was always on the player that represented the football club, always led from the front. And I think going into 2020, that's going to have to be probably going to have to be the way. Now, it's more a debate of who gets it more than anything. I think the club is really considering going down back to the one tradition. And if they do that, I think the club's going to have to come out and say, look, the co-captaincy, we tried it. We tried to make it work in some form of communication. It did work. But in saying that, overall, the results couldn't quite showcase a big enough case to say, let's keep it going for another year. And that will mean that the club will come out, whoever they announce as captain, whether it's before the end of the year, before it comes out into later down the track, as the club keeps saying. The word is that February is usually the date. But there's a couple of rumours going around that possibly Tom Jonas could be announced as sole captain next week. I've heard it from a few different people. but I'm not sure if that's 100%. And look, don't take my word for it. I definitely wouldn't say that decision would have been made anytime soon. We've just got our new draftees, and we're just going to train as a playing group together. And I'm sure the club will obviously work that one out later down the track. We all know what the fans think about the captaincy. Sole captain, number one. We all want it back, especially for next year. And I think going into deeper detail, who should be the captain? Power from Port is a Twitter page that I'm currently helping admin. We put out a post questioning who should be the captain if Port Adelaide would go down the path of one captain. Amazingly, after 600 votes, which is a small portion, but still a portion enough to showcase who exactly the Port Adelaide people want, Hamish Hartlett came out standingly out front with 44% of the votes. Tom Jonas was next with 27%. Ollie Wines was 19%. There was another option with other with 10%. We saw a couple of names at E, but Boat gets the captaincy back, which, mind you, I would absolutely love. But we know his form is better when he's not captain. I'd like to keep it that way. So I think Hamish Hartlett's that'd be great to see Hammer with a number one on the back of his Guernsey. For some reason, just his leadership, his presence on the field, and just his hardness is something that we've lacked in more players. And to see him have number one on the back would certainly be something I think a lot of people would be happy with. So it comes to the decision whether or not who gets the captaincy. And with all these factors of obviously 150 years, the number one Guernsey, tradition, and what the fans are crying for, obviously when it comes down to the captaincy decision, I personally, when it comes to the captaincy, there's always a clear standout. I think coming into the new year with Boak announcing he didn't want to be captain, it sort of put the club into a bit of a situation. There was no real standout, and co-captaincy came out with that, with that problem. I think coming into this year, there's obviously, again, not a big standout, but you can see certain elements in each player that would showcase, they can be number one. Ollie Wines obviously having a troubled 2019. Is he going to be backing up? Obviously with another, all those rumours about does he want to be traded and etc. Is he asking for trade? And I think, I don't know if that's that. I would assume that's not true, but anything happens behind the closed doors, and me being, everyone being a fan, we're not going to know exactly what's going on. With Tom Jonas, I think he stands out as a leader. We know his qualities. He's got hardness about him. He's very straightforward. He knows what we want as a football club. He knows what he wants as a player. And he's always, representing Port Adelaide in the right way. And as a defender, that's probably... Defenders would struggle a little. I don't know. It's a very complicated game these days, and defenders can basically be anywhere on the ground. But when it's essentially being you're a defender, we know the midfielders get the majority of that captaincy role. Kenny, I think that's the best thing about co-captaincy is when Jonas is the defender and Ollie Wines is a midfielder, there's more control over both ends of the ground. And it's less responsibility to be controlling 22, so you've got backup there. But with Hamish Hartlett, he's just one of those players that will lead from the front, both at the ball, but also with his voice and his presence and his body language. And all three have capabilities of being a captain. I'd personally go the Tom Jonas route. I think he's got the capabilities, he's got the hardness, he's got the on-field, the off-field presence. And I'd have him with Ollie Wines as a vice, and also Hamish Hartlett as a vice. And then I'd look at someone like a Dan Houston to have more of a leadership presence. Get one of the youngsters involved, get them providing, building their leadership skills, and see how they can go. But at the end of the day, it's a on-field decision for the players and the playing group and the coaches. And we won't make decisions as fans. So it'll definitely be an interesting thing leading up to whenever it is announced, whether it's February or if the rumour is true for next week, which are highly unlikely. It's coming up to Christmas and stuff like that, and things will certainly be starting to wind down. So it'll be interesting to see how the topic evolves over the coming weeks, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing who will be captain in 2020 wearing either number 1 or they'll be keeping their Guernseys and having co-captaincy. Thank you very much for watching this, Port fans. Let me know in the comments below what you think Port Adelaide should do with the captaincy in 2020 going into 150 years. There'll be plenty more content coming your way leading up to the new year as well. We're sort of winding down, so things will get a little bit spread out, but 2020 is going to be a massive year for both Port Adelaide Football Club and the channel, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing you guys next year. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new for plenty more Port Adelaide and AFL content. My name's Anthony, and as always, come the pair.